Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with another episode of Total Breakdown. We've got a great one sent in by IruRobin today as he leads the Wood Elves against the Empire led by Roderico. Now, this one was sent before the latest patch, but it seems to have survived through the patch. Many of the submitted battles, in fact most of them, have not, unfortunately, so it looks like I'm starting my collection mostly from scratch. With that said, make sure you submit your new battles, either through our Discord or through the submission link, and links to both of those are in the description below. Now, the Wood Elves are coming in with a very interesting build. The Glade Lord is in charge alongside a Spellsinger of Life, with 6 units of Eternal Guards with shields, 2 units of War Dancers with Asurai Spears ranked up to rank 1, 5 units of Deepwood Scouts for some stealthy ambushing, and a unit of Wild Riders with shields. The Empire is coming in with Boris Todbringer in charge, alongside 4 units of Spearmen, 2 ranked up to rank 1, 4 units of Swordsmen, 2 units of Flagellants, 2 units of Halberdiers, 2 units of Crossbowmen, 3 units of Empire Knights, and a unit of Demigryph Knights with Halberds, ranked up to rank 1. Now that might seem like a strange cavalry selection, but it's a decent idea when you're suspecting a heavy ranged contingent with minimal large support from the enemy. Alright, as always, we're going to start with a quick look at layouts, and it is quite interesting from the Wood Elves, as you can see, and you probably suspected by looking at the composition. Now, let's start with the basics here. We've got the Eternal Guard with shields forming this front line, so to speak. We've got the Spellsinger of Life right behind them to provide support. Over here, the Wild Riders with shields, and right behind them, the War Dancers with Asurai Spears. So, again, these guys to sort of maybe absorb charges, and then to go in with these War Dancers with the Asurai Spear to actually inflict damage on large enemy units. Up front, we have the Glade Lord flying atop the Forest Dragon, and then over here we have the Deepwood Scouts, Vanguard deployed right up at the front. Now, the deployment is very interesting for a few reasons. Well, we've got this, sort of ambush laid out as these guys are invisible, they cannot be spotted, but also because there's the ruse that the entire force is actually deployed over here. Now, looking quickly at the numbers, the opponent could probably tell that this is obviously not the entire army, but it becomes mysterious as to where they may have deployed. Were they Vanguard deploying the hidden troops? Are they back here, as they typically tend to be? So this is a ruse, and this layout is pretty standard. We're used to seeing this, and so one might not suspect such an advanced Vanguard deployment. So very clever overall positioning there. And over here from the Empire, we have something not super simple. Overall, it's kind of simple, but there's a little bit of cleverness here as well. We've got a front line. On either end, we have the Spearmen, and then right down the middle, we have all the Swordsmen forming your standard front line of the Empire. Flagellants right behind on either flank, providing a little bit of support. And we've got our Crossbowmen here and here. Again, keeping them a little ways apart just so they aren't both intercepted at the same time if it comes in. And we do have we have Boris there on foot, eating some early shots from the Arrow of Kronos. Right behind him, we have a couple more Spearmen on either end, and we have the Halberdiers as well. Again, this is just to prevent any large units that come in from the flanks or the rears. And all the way back here in the woods, tucked away and hidden, we actually have our Empire Knights and the Demigryph Knights with Halberds. So, again, I think the thinking there was if the Wood Elves got a little too clever early on, tried to come in from the flanks, tried something, again, clever with a Forest Dragon or some Hawk Riders, these guys could pop out, pin them in place, and make quick work of that incoming offensive from the Wood Elves. Now, right off the bat, of course, there was that Arrow of Kronos that we saw did a little bit of damage to Boris, hurt him just a touch. Not a bad call targeting him. And you'll see over here the Deepwood Scout are being pushed off to the side. And again, it's all a matter of maintaining this ruse for as long as possible. You want to try and pull the Empire in this direction, try and go for a standard engagement, and then try and open shots on the enemy as late as possible to show your hand later on in the game, not too early on. And you'll notice a lot of this movement is pretty standard Wood Elf movement. You've got the cavalry moving forward and off to the side here. The War Dancers are following them as well, and the Spears are, pushing this way. So again, maybe hoping to split the army up because the enemy cannot see these Deepwood Scouts. So it's very important to try and maintain that ruse. And you notice these Deepwood Scouts, even though they've already got the Spearmen in range, they're being very patient and not opening fire just yet. You want to make sure that those initial volleys get a lot of damage through, and you'll see the Forest Dragon has crept up and is getting some early shots in, eating a lot of shots as well, taking a decent amount of damage, all things considered, from those crossbowmen. And again, the Deepwood Scout just pushing forward a little bit, trying to get everybody within firing range of these spearmen, and as soon as they are opening fire, and look at that, a beautiful first volley and a significant amount of damage just in that first volley, and again creeping back just a little bit into some safe distance and getting another volley off. The Empire player may not have been paying attention, or didn't see this going on perhaps because he's just a little too late to respond, and then finally sees that much damage go in and starts to respond. These flagellants are beginning to move in this direction. These guys are still hidden, of course, as the Deepwood Scouts are master ambushers, so they are still hidden, but of course you see the arrows coming in. So now a response is being sent forward, and all this cavalry is being pushed out as well to try and take care of these guys and the Wild Riders as well as they creep up. Now, as these guys are approaching the Deepwood Scouts, they are opening fire now at the flagellants instead. The idea here is to damage the spearmen, and they're basically worth nothing at this point, and now damage the flagellants because again they're unbreakable, so you want to try and make them very soft and quick to dispatch of when melee does begin. Targeting these swordsmen is probably the last priority because they do have shields and they can absorb a lot of those initial shots. So just sort of spreading out the love there, if you will, and trying to take care of 2 units before front lines can engage. And you'll notice back here the Wood Elves are moving, so quite a bit of movement going on actually right now. So let's slow it down, and you'll see that the War Dancers here are being sent off to the side here. The Wild Riders are being pulled back over here. So this is sort of going to be the anti-large contingent. If these cavalry units decide to come in this way, they will have to contest against some pretty fast units that can hold them in place and also slaughter them. Then we also have these 2 units of Eternal Guard with shields creeping up over here, and the Deepwood Scouts being very ready to pull back, and you'll see another volley going in towards the flagellants, trying to cause a lot of damage, and you'll see it all happen. Meanwhile, these Eternal Guard with shields positioning over here, posturing over here, so they're able to block another entry point as well. So that forces the Empire to split up as well. They've got a couple of units going this way, the large units being sent this way to, do their duty. I imagine this is exactly why the composition was what we're seeing. In case the enemy had a lot of ranged units, you want to have multiple cavalry units, multiple fast units to come in from multiple sides. Now, as that's happening, the Glade Lord as well is flying over to provide some support and get involved in this engagement if necessary, and meanwhile, the Empire is moving the bulk of its forces over here to try and collapse this right Wood Elf flank and then push inwards. Also, the crossbowmen are being pulled this way as well to provide support to this side over here, because this is really the meat and sort of the heart of the Wood Elf army. So as we move along, you'll see the Deepwood Scouts again just pulling back to some safety, getting another volley off onto the flagellants, basically making them a worthless unit, and then pulling away once again. The Glade Lord now pushing up, maybe trying to chase after Boris Todbringer up there. The crossbowmen get another volley off into the Glade Lord, doing a little bit of damage, not enough to cause serious concern. And you'll notice over here, these Demigryph Knights with halberds and these Empire Knights as well, all sort of circling around, trying to get behind the Deepwood Scouts, and the Deepwood Scouts still pulling back. And you'll see also the Eternal Guards here across the entire field pulling back, just maintaining that distance, maintaining that gap between the Empire's forces and the Deepwood Scouts, trying to get as many volleys in as possible before lines meet. And you'll notice this volley does go into the swordsman, and you'll see very clearly they take a much smaller amount of damage. It still does a good amount of damage, but compared to how quickly we saw those spearmen drop or how quickly we saw the flagellants drop, you'll see the swordsmen, because of their shields, are able to absorb more of that damage. Unfortunately, though, there isn't much else left to target on this side. There's this unit of spearmen, but they're already mostly taken care of. There's these 4 units of swordsmen that are coming in, this unit of flagellants, no point engaging them anymore. So purely out of, I suppose, desperation, I imagine, or out of a lack of choice, the only target left now are the swordsmen. Now, over here on this flank, you'll see a lot of positioning going on as well, trying to find the opening again, just to try and pierce through, trying to make sure that they don't get caught out by these War Dancers with their spears, because again, they are fast units, so it's not like it's easy to get in and out. Trying to make these gaps appear just by spreading out wide and thin, and you'll see IruRobin here doing his best to keep everything guarded and keep these Deepwood Scouts safe for as long as possible. Now, the front does start to slowly collide. You'll notice this unit of Eternal Guard is taking care of the flagellants. A lot of range fire coming in. These swordsmen also basically turning out to be more or less useless by the time lines meet. So despite their shields, they are severely damaged, and you'll notice another volley goes in, a fair amount of damage spread between these 2 swordsmen, and off to the side over here, the Demigryph Knights with halberds dive into the Wild Riders, but the Wild Riders with the Asrai Spear War Dancers are able to quickly dispatch of the Demigryph Knights with halberds. They were treated horribly in that engagement, and they're already routing already having given up, and you'll notice that the Forest Dragon as well is going in there to provide some support. Meanwhile, these crossbowmen are opening fire into the Eternal Guards with their backs turned to the crossbow, so a little bit of damage going in there, and you'll see these two Empire Knights units are now free to actually penetrate through this way, because the vast majority, or rather the entirety of the Elven defense force on that left flank has been preoccupied with this engagement over here and doing quick work as well. So while in some ways this might look bad because it allows these Empire Knights to sort of sneak through, overall, dispatching of 2 entire units of enemy cavalry is a good trade-off, because these guys might get a little bit of damage in, and then these guys are able to respond soon after. Meanwhile, you'll notice a lot of movement once again going on. These Deepwood Scouts are being pulled back, and the Eternal Guards with shields are being pushed this way, again, just to try and create a cup and maybe hold back a lot of this aggression, keep the Deepwood Scouts safe and away from these Empire Knights, and these Eternal Guard with shields and spears as well, of course, are trying to get in and hold these 2 Empire Knights units back, and well, slaughter them as well, of course. You'll notice another volley goes in from these Deepwood Scouts. Courageous archers that they are, they get another volley off, and again, trying to hit these flagellants because they're, you know, unarmored, unshielded. They will eat a lot of damage, and you'll see that happening just now. They are falling like flies. Now, they might not all die instantaneously, but you can see how much HP damage is going in, so the moment an engagement begins, whoever they engage against has a big advantage. Meanwhile, over here, you'll see a lot of units have been clumped up against 1 unit of Eternal Guard with shields, and that's just bad management. One of these units of swordsmen should have been sent either way, around and back, because shutting down these archers is quintessential to the success of the Empire right now. They are causing the most amount of damage here, and you'll see again those flagellants just dropping like flies as they approach the front lines, and these crossbowmen again trying to open fire and give some support and end this left flank, if you will, as quickly as possible. But it's not too much concern for IruRobin. He's able to do just fine, and over here you'll see some very interesting plays. So we've got, let's see here, we've got the Eternal Guard with shields, as opposed to standing, you know, over here. They've pulled down over here because the cavalry is the big fear point. So these guys are all standing up over here. These Eternal Guard with shields are also pulling back, trying to engage the cavalry over here. Unfortunately, both, or rather all 3 of these units have committed to this 1 unit of Empire Knights. So this unit of Empire Knights is able to sneak by. Meanwhile, very quickly, over here you'll see all the Empire Knights and the Demigryph Knights with halberds have been routed off or slaughtered, so that has been taken care of, and now these units are free to take care of these last 2 Empire Knights units. And you'll see these Deepwood Scouts, as they're sort of retreating, opening fire in various directions, trying to support this unit of Eternal Guards up here, firing into the backs of these spearmen, and also trying to fire into the backs of these halberdiers over here, trying to help both of these flanks. Meanwhile, obviously very frightened of this incoming Empire Knight charge, and you'll see something absolutely beautiful happen here. So these Deepwood Scouts, as you saw, were ordered to move away, and there you have it, the prey of Anathrema just before the charge is able to hit. And I think that's absolutely amazing. These Deepwood Scouts are able to creep right by, in fact get a couple of shots off into the Empire Knights, but still supporting this front line. It's very difficult to call that a line. Still trying to support these skirmishes going on at the front, these 3 very distinct pockets of engagements over here, and meanwhile the Forest Dragon rushing back to try and save the Deepwood Scouts. Same goes for, of course, these War Dancers with Asterai Spears and the Wild Riders, trying to come back here and save these Deepwood Scouts from the incoming threat. Now, this unit of Spearmen is doing exactly what it needs to. It's trying to shut down all of these ranged units, but you can see very quickly with 1 volley, they've already given up on the fight, more or less. They're able to dive in, and they are able to engage some units, but they are already so heavily weakened, they will be very quickly taken care of. Another volley is able to go through, however, and these halberdiers are not enjoying it, of course. They're taking a lot of damage, and over here as well, you'll see the flagellants eating a lot of hurt, as well as the halberdiers, both units of halberdiers, because of course when that much range fire is coming in into such a big clump, even a miss ends up with a hit. And over here you'll see the Eternal Guard with shields are able to destroy this unit of spearmen, and over here the Wild Riders alongside the 2 War Dancers with Asterai Spears are able to destroy this unit of Empire Knights. So that is very quickly taken care of course, and now these guys are able to collapse in and once again help against this unit of Empire Knights. You'll notice that this unit of Deepwood Scouts is left engaged. Not sure if that was intentional or not, but the thinking there, if you do intentionally leave your ranged units engaged with a cavalry unit, sometimes it's not a bad idea, just to prevent that cavalry unit from, you know, harassing more of your troops or causing morale damage across a line. So that may have been a mistake, but even if it was, it's actually quite helpful here because the Empire Knights aren't able to push through and shut down more ranged units. And they continue, in fact, to fire into that clump there, cause a lot of damage to these halberdiers, and you'll see that entire left has been won quite hastily. The Forest Dragon, not entirely sure what the Forest Dragon's up to here, or rather the Glade Lord is up to here, but eating a lot of shots from the crossbows, so not ideal. And now the Deepwood Scouts are opening fire on Boris. I don't think that's the best idea, because Boris is such a small target for such a large volume of fire, and it looks like IruRobin noticed that as well, so he does change his target, is now firing on the Flagellants. Again, they are unbreakable, so they make an excellent target for ranged fire, because in melee they will last literally forever until each and every one of them does die. At this point, you'll see back here the Empire Knights have been made to rout. These Wild Riders should have been pulled back here to deal with the Empire Knights, and these War Dancers with Asteroid Spears, though they are doing good work up there, should have been pulled down to kill these Empire Knights as well. But at this point, I think IruRobin is pretty confident with his chances, seeing the situation on the battlefield. He sends this unit of Eternal Guard up to sort of help this engagement, this little pocket in the center here, and you'll notice these Deepwood Scouts as well. They all open shots at these Spearmen. Another beautiful volley, looking absolutely gorgeous, and these Spearmen start to drop like flies. And over here again, the Deepwood Scouts are being pulled away, and the Eternal Guard are being pushed in to engage these guys. So some great micro there, making sure these Deepwood Scouts are able to stay alive, stay mostly unengaged, and there you have it, a GG from the opponent. I thought this was an excellent display of managing a large ranged force and really capitalizing on what's supposed to make the Wood Elves a unique fighting force, in my opinion. There was some great patience put on display with regards to the time taken before that initial volley went off, and the play was very risky, keeping your Deepwood Scouts so far up ahead. It's extremely risky, but it came with some great rewards. Beautiful micromanagement by IruRobin. That was absolutely beautiful to look at, and yeah, it was quick work done by those Deepwood Scouts, who did most of the work, I think, for the Wood Elves. Now, as always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content, and keep submitting your battle replays. I think this is one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see great battles from the community, whether they're from competition or from regular day-to-day ranked play. Now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.